Hola, my name is Tania Lopez. I'm a Latina mom and chef from the Bronx, New York.
Hola, and I'm her son, Miguel Xavier Diaz Lopez. I'm a mechanical engineer working with NASA and studying for a PhD at Johns Hopkins University.
We love to share stories about
Latinos getting shit done.
Welcome back to Season 2 of More Than Rice and Beans, a mother-son podcast about food, culture, relationships, and the Latinx community. I'm Tania, a Spanish chef and founder of Coquila Chef, a New York City-based culinary business that teaches online cooking classes, ships authentic Spanish products, and teaches the importance of cultural foods, family traditions, music, and history.
And I'm her son, Miguel. I'm a PhD student in mechanical engineering at Johns Hopkins University with a focus in aerospace engineering. Our lives are pretty busy, but my mom and I always try to make time to connect over food to talk about culture, Latinx stories, swap some ideas, or just catch up on life.
We're so happy you're here to join us in our first episode of Season 2, where we're talking about the best meals we've ever eaten. So let's take a moment right now and just talk about what food means to me and what food means to you, Miguel. When you cook in your home and you bring all these aromas from whatever dish that you want to make, from whatever country you want to make, let's say Japan, Spain, Portugal, you're bringing in your home these flavors, the smell. Aromas, exactly. And that's how I feel connected. And when I play the music from that country, it just makes me feel like I'm there. And I think that's what really connects me to the food. What about you? How does it connect with you?
Well, I think the other way is similar, is that when you have all of that food and all of those aromas, if all of that is from your culture, your own culture, not just others, and it's from your own childhood, then it allows you to connect with your own culture, which helps a lot with like self-identity and how you feel about your culture, your family. It helps you connect with everything that is you, just because of that sort of nostalgic factor of, I mean, that happened to me. I tried to make beans last week, and Puerto Rican beans, habichuelas guisadas. And when I was making the sofrito from your recipe, by the way, recipes on coquillachef.com. When I used the sofrito from your recipe, just smelling that, like smelling the sofrito as I was making it, it just like brought me back, both to Puerto Rico, and also back home, back to my childhood. It just connected me like with everything, just smelling that.
So have you tried other cultures? I know you went to Germany a few years ago, way before COVID ever really didn't let us travel. I remember you used to call me all the time and say, Mom, I tried this out. I tried that out. I tried this beer. I went here. I went there. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And then you try to speak to me German. I'm like, okay, I'm lost now completely.
I mean, barely. I did not know much German.
Well, the little words that you knew, it was
the German, when people always ask me what German did I learn while I was there, I always say, well, beer is beer in German. Because they're pronounced the same exact way. They're just spelled differently. That's like the easiest German word to know.
But we, as Americans, there is one German word that we say quite often. It's kindergarten, right?
Oh, yeah, that's true. Because kinder means child and garden is garden.
Yeah.
Kinder means child in German. So I guess that's another German word that I learned.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So when you told me that, I was like, you're kidding me. That's kind of cool. So we've been speaking German, or at least one German word, most of our lives.
Well, a lot of English borrows words from a lot of different languages. I think English was originally a Germanic language, so it makes sense.
Out of all the dishes that I've made, which one is your favorite?
Oh, my favorite?
Mm-hmm.
It's probably pastelón, partially because it's really hard to find. Because when I went to Puerto Rico, because I was in Puerto Rico in January, I could not find pastelón almost anywhere. I found things that were similar to pastelón, and
Can
were
you tell
not
the audience what pastelón is?
Well, I mean, they could look it up. They have Google.
Well, no.
All right,
I'm sure there's a lot of curious minds out there, right, people?
So pastelón, at least then, so I found out there's a difference between the way New Yorkers make pastelón and the way Puerto Ricans traditionally made it. With New Yorkers, which is what I'm used to because this is how you made it,
Mm-hmm.
pastelón is basically how I always describe it is that it's lasagna, but it's like a Puerto Rican lasagna where instead of using the lasagna noodles, we use plátano maduro, which is like ripened sweet plantains, and then also you use like cheddar cheese and stuff like that. You don't, and mozzarella. You don't use like ricotta or anything like that. But it's still like ground beef with cheese, like in layers with sweet plantains. Now, the interesting thing that I found out when I looked it up is that that's the way that New Yorkers make it. The way the Puerto Ricans supposedly traditionally make it is that they don't use cheese at all. Instead, they use green beans. Green beans is a staple in their pastelón.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So when I was in Puerto Rico, I found some things that were similar to pastelón, but they didn't call themselves pastelón. I kind of had to like look at the description to see if it was similar. And I only saw it in 2 restaurants. And so it's like so difficult to find. Even then, like it was still not as good as the way you made it. So
Oh,
I think that one and also bistec encebollado, which is like steak cooked in onions. That one's also a favorite of mine. And so, actually, something that we didn't get to touch on when we were talking about why food is important to us is I wanted to ask you, what do you think you gain from sitting down to have a meal together, either with me or just like anyone in the family? What do you think you gain from that, and why do you think it's important?
one thing I love sitting down with you and Cassandra and having a meal together. I think for me, it was like the most important part of the day. During breakfast time, we sort of did that too, which was kind of cool because we did it before went to school, went to work. But dinner time was kind of like a little bit different. So I always loved the fact that I can just sit down, have a conversation, connect with you guys, ask you questions like, what did you do? How was your day? Did you get good grades? What happened? All these questions. And then you guys will ask me questions too. And we would talk about random topics. And it really connected me to who your personality was. And of course, Cassandra's as well. It just really opened up for me the possibilities that I can really connect with you guys. Because sometimes when you are growing up and you're just sitting apart and you have all this technology around you, it's so hard to really sit down and have a really nice time with family and friends too, because it's like the first thing you do is that when you get a meal, you want to take a picture of it and you're not really connecting, or you're talking on Facebook because you just put up a picture. These are the things that when we're sitting together and having dinner, you just have to set aside because we don't get much of that. And nowadays, it's so important to really connect with your family and friends.
Well, also with us too, because we're
Hmm.
busy. It's something that's obviously a necessity for our survival is that we have to eat. So
Yeah.
it's already a common thing that both of us share. And while obviously in terms of our actual work, we don't really share that many things besides this podcast, I guess. But like you do cooking and I'm an engineer. So we're like on very different sides of the spectrum. And so a lot of times, even when I was living over there, there were several occasions where we were just are in our own little worlds on our computers, like
Yeah.
typing away or whatever. So it's important that we know that we have that commonality of obviously we're humans, we have to eat. So if we take advantage of that commonality to make sure that we do it together,
Hmm.
then that's the best time for us both to connect, for anyone to connect.
And I just want to put it out there. Cassandra is my daughter, just in case you were like, oh, who's Cassandra? She's my daughter, Miguel's
She's on the
sister.
website too. All right, so now I want to ask you, what meals did you make for us, for Cassandra and me, like growing up or whatever, that are from your own childhood?
Bistec encebollado, which is steak with onions. And I believe my father gave it this name that well, I'm not so sure if it was this dish or the other one. He had this name for his steak. He called it bistec a la chuleria, which means very cute steak. So I always liked it saying bistec a la chuleria because it sounds cute. But
It's like you're dressing it up with the
yeah,
onions.
exactly. Like I'm giving it like a nice little dress and just putting some red
Okay.
peppers there to make it the hair or something. I don't know,
Oh
but
my
it was
god.
it was a really nice name that he came up with. I'm not so sure if it was this bistec encebollado dish or pepper steak, but both of them were very good dishes that I love to make. And of course, my traditional coquito, which is a drink for the Puerto Rican family. It's my grandmother's recipe, and I love to make it during Christmas time. I love to teach people how to make it. It's my thing. And pastelillos, of course, that's another thing that I always like to include. And for breakfast, sometimes for lunch. I know it sounds crazy when it's for breakfast. So let's change the subject a little bit and let's talk about cheap meals. Now, what do I mean by that? Besides
Well,
things falling apart.
yeah. Well, maybe that makes it's cheap. It's falling apart. That was perfect segue.
All right. So most folks go through periods in their life that they can't afford the food that they eat or how to, or they like. On an average, most folks spend about $7,000 on food each year. People who live in cities spend more on food than any other expense, except for rent or mortgage. When you're on a tight budget, what is your favorite meal? I'm going to start off first, Miguel. On a tight budget, I'm going to say one story. And it was my mother when she was on a tight budget. She definitely made this meal that I kind of like, but I never made for you. I don't know if I made it for you and Cassandra, but it was white rice, corned beef in a can, those corned beef in a can, which is, if I read the ingredients now, I'm probably just faint. Beans, but in the corned beef, she would add ripe bananas. So it gave it a nice little sweetness to the corned beef. So it was savory and sweet. And I
I
really
think I
like.
have had that before.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I think so.
I think
Well,
you
I
probably.
think I definitely have had corned beef with rice because Papi has made it
Yeah.
too. So I guess that must be like a Puerto Rican thing.
Yeah. It's actually a very affordable dish. One time my mom made it for a guest that came in, but it was a family guest. And the guest was like, what's up with this? You can't afford more food. And she felt so bad. She was like, what are you saying? This is our traditional dish, And my mom said she felt really bad that that person said that. So we always have to be careful when we visit someone and they make us a dish which you think might be cheap, but it's really what they can afford. I always remember that.
And there is a potential of making the same dish but a bit better. Like you don't have to use corned beef in a can. There's like actual corned beef that you can shred yourself and everything.
Yeah, but that's we're talking about a little bit more
Yeah.
money because you're
Yeah.
actually buying corned beef that's really good, not in the can.
But that is like the potential of if you do have the money one day, like there's ways of making the dishes well as well. It's not like all
Right. So on a tight budget, what is your favorite meal, Miguel?
Well, I mean, the one that you always made, which I still love. I don't care if I'm in a tight budget or not. I still like it. It's just, it's really simple. It's just rice, beans, obviously, but there's more to it because this is more than rice and beans. Okay, this is a more than rice.
Yeah,
and beans
wait for
podcast.
this, people. Wait for this.
So there's rice, beans, and then we always, what we always called Cassandra and I, my sister, when we were kids, and we still call it this. Sunny side up eggs, we always call poppy thing eggs because you like pop the yolk. So it's rice, beans, poppy thing eggs, and then a banana. And I know the banana sounds really weird, but you have to try it because the sweetness of the banana just really it complements the beans so incredibly well. This is actually I found out is a very Caribbean thing to do.
Yeah, it is.
Jamaicans do it too, which I didn't realize that, and Dominicans and Cubans do it too. So it's like all of the Caribbean does that, eating rice, beans with banana. And so it's not that uncommon. Okay, we're not crazy. So you need to try it.
If you really think about it, it's like you're having all the servings that you need. You're having the protein, you're having your fruits, you're having your veggies.
You don't have veggies in there, but we can put veggies.
Beans are veggies, aren't they?
No.
Yeah, it's a vegetable.
That's not a vegetable. I think it's counted as like a legume or something.
Okay. All right. So it's close. It still adds some protein. You have some eggs. You have some grains. It's actually a really good dish.
Yeah, and then sometimes we also used to put like canned salchicha, which is canned sausage.
Oh God! Please don't remind me that.
Sometimes we
I
would
think
add
that if I read the ingredients now, I'll faint.
Yeah, but it's probably around the same badness as corned beef. So
oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but
But
it's
anyway,
all everything on a tight budget. And actually in Puerto Rico, a lot of people eat salchicha,
yeah, the
in
canned
the
sausage.
can. Yes, it's very popular. The corned beef is popular.
But the reason why I love that egg with the
Mhm.
rice and beans combo is because first of all, seasoning the poppy thing egg with adobo is a must. And then what you do is that you put the egg over the rice and then you pop the yolk, so you should still have a runny yolk. And then you pop the yolk over the rice and cut up the white part and then you just mix it all in the rice. So like having the yolk mixed with the rice is what makes it amazing.
Yes, I love them. I still make it too, and I also started making it for your girlfriend, and she really likes it too.
Yeah, but she's a vegetarian, so
Yeah, so it's like perfect. All right, so I forgot to mention that one of the things that I love about my mom's corned beef and rice. And mom, if you're listening out there, I do love your dish, and anytime I go visit you, please make it for me because I know times are rough, especially in Puerto Rico. So let's get this in the last part of this all. This is rapid style questions. You got to think quickly, okay, Miguel? I'm going to put you on the spot. All right. If you could have one meal with one person, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
I literally have no clue. Like this
Okay.
is not an easy question to ask. I don't know. I would say like some random person. Who would I eat with? Have a meal with one person. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I would just throw it out there, be basic, and I would just say that it would be cool to have a meal with Einstein. Because I mean it would be
Oh,
cool,
yeah.
but I feel like anyone would say that, so it's not a cool answer.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have a meal with Einstein. That's a good one. But why? Why? Because he's gonna like dissect the whole food and wonder how it all got together.
People have a hard time explaining some of his theories and stuff. I mean, if you have a trouble understanding it, he's probably the best person to ask. I don't know if this is actually a quote from him or not, but I remember seeing a quote from which I think is from him, which I'm not going to say verbatim, but I would kind of paraphrase. You don't really understand something until you can teach it to like a 5-year-old. I'm pretty sure he was the one who said that quote, and if he did, then that probably means that he could explain a lot of cool things to me.
Very cool. All right, your turn. Very
All
quickly.
right, so now if you could just eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Arroz con gandules.
Why?
Because it's actually I can add anything to it. Like it's so easy dish. Like if
Yeah,
I, want to add some meat, some more vegetables, it's so easy. It has the protein, it has the grains, and when you add on the vegetables, it's great. You can add extra protein. Like I said, I mean,
it's
like
similar to
super
paella
right.
in a way.
Exactly. You can even add fish to it.
It's like a template.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. All right. Now my turn. If you can dine anywhere in the world, where would it be?
I think it would definitely be Japan, just because I haven't been. One reason is I haven't been there yet, and I really like Japanese culture. But I'm also really interested in the street food of Japan because I absolutely love ramen, and I want to try a lot of the other street food. The sushi stuff, no, because I don't like seafood. So that's why I'd rather be in the street food side where it's more meats. The restaurant side of Japan is a lot more fish, which I don't like. And now, if you could teach everyone to make just one dish, what would it be? But I think all of us already know the answer to this question. So I don't think there's really a point of me answering. So instead, we're going to answer it together because I already know what the answer is. And I think everyone in this podcast knows what it is. So in three, two, one, we're going to say what's the dish that you want to teach everyone. All right. Three,
Okay.
two, one. Paella.
Paella.
Yeah. You see, told you. Extremely predictable.
Okay.
So
All
just a
right.
plug, you guys can get a paella class right now on cookiethechef.com. You can set that up. So
Ah.
that's why she's predictable. That's why I already knew that because she's already teaching it.
Oh.
But anyway, I think we're done for today's podcast. We've talked a lot about food and culture and what it means to us. We got into some really deep stuff, but of course, as usual with this podcast, we also just pulled around like usual. So I want to thank you for joining us on this week of More Than Rice and Beans. If you'd like to learn more about us, check out our back catalog for season 1 episodes. And to hear what else we have in store for this season, make sure to subscribe to our show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you like to listen.
If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a rating and review. It really helped people find our podcast, not us, because we know where our podcast is.
I hope so.
And if you are interested in learning how to cook Puerto Rican and Spanish dishes, please sign up for our virtual experiences at coquythechef.com. That is COQUI, thechef.com. Each class includes a live demonstration, plus music, lots of laughter, and you'll also find our store where you can purchase authentic ingredients, cookware, merchandise, and more.
We'll see you here next time on More Than Rice and Beans.
Goodbye. Ciao. Say goodbye, Miguel.
Well, bye. What are you, my mom?